behavior of Democrats was completely disgraceful.
The night began with several Democrats turning their backs on the president, then walking out.
Look at what's happening. The Democrats are not even acknowledging the cabinet right now.
One of the ugliest displays of partisan politics in American history.
It started out with Al Green getting thrown off the House floor.
I have never seen such a disgraceful display as the Democrats put on.
Then they had the ridiculous paddles, which now social media is roasting.
What we saw tonight was truly Dems in disarray.
It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber.
Democrats did not clap for Mark Fogel, a freed American hostage standing beside his 95-year-old mother.
They didn't stand for the young man whose father was a slain police officer, whom Trump admitted to West Point in the middle of the speech. They wouldn't stand for him.
Democrats didn't stand to keep men out of women's sports. They couldn't even clap for a girl who got her head smashed in by a man on a volleyball court.
The Democratic Party could not be further from being pro-woman. They are anti-woman and they are anti-reality.
Democrats didn't stand for an innocent and beautiful child who is surviving brain cancer.
And then Trump announced the capture of a terrorist, someone who killed 13 heroic Americans in Afghanistan. But nope, can't stand for that.
They couldn't even clap for two mothers whose daughters were killed by illegal aliens.
They don't stand for anything humane.
It looked like they were at the kids' table.
It's just literally a failure of epic proportions.
Democrats exposed themselves as the party of insanity and hate. The party that wants to put America last.
It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
The Al Green.
Oh my gosh, it's too funny, but now it's spreading. And people are starting to see for themselves that the Democrat Party, and I don't know if I was one of the first ones to tell you the Democrat Party is dead. That was a complete funeral that you were watching. And now it's actually getting mainstream. And I'm not talking just Fox. I'm talking that the people on the left, they are looking at this as well. They're trying to figure out, how is it possible that what you just saw, all of the victims, all of the clapping for the young man who is getting into West Point, and of course the 13-year-old boy, what exactly is happening that's causing all of this? And nobody can seem to put their finger on it because it is completely outlandish. And the reason is, and it's very simple at this point if you're willing to look, there is no leadership. In addition to there being no leadership, you're also saying the media can't cover for it. These things are so egregious that even the CNNs and MSNBCs of the world and the Midas Touches and all the different people on YouTube cannot cover what people can actually see with their own eyes. You see, if it was in the back room somewhere or something on Capitol Hill or who knows, but I don't know how many tens of millions of people turned in for Trump's speech and they all saw it. There was no way possible that you could avert your eyes from that damage that the Democrat Party did to itself. And so all over X, there are people going, I'm done. I am absolutely done. You've embarrassed me. You've embarrassed me. You make me sick to my stomach. When you get that kind of visceral reaction from people, which is definitely not something you want, you know you're in big trouble. And unfortunately for the Democrats, and fortunately for us, there isn't anything they can do. And Barry, why would you say something like that? Because, as I mentioned before, they have no strategy, they have no message, they're not doing anything, and President Trump is just keep going. And so, yes, that speech happened a day ago or 2 days ago, and they're still reeling from that. They can't right their ship. It's like a boxer who just can't get the fuzzies out of his head after getting pounded, and you just keep getting pounded some more. You can't catch yourself. And all it seems as though is the Democrat politicians, instead of trying to do something, continue to pour gas on their own fire. There literally is no way out for them. And I would challenge anybody in the chat. I would challenge anybody online. Tell me what your strategy is to get you out of what everybody saw 2 days ago. What is it that you can promise or tell people that is going to be different that would say, okay, I get it now? You turned away from a young man with cancer. All right, let's say we overlooked that. You didn't realize it. We give you some excuse. You turned away from a man whose father died who got into West Point. Trump appointed him. Yeah, okay, I didn't understand it. Okay. And there's woman after woman after woman whose parent or daughter or whatever were abused or killed because of something you guys did. So how do you change that narrative? And then if all that wasn't bad enough, if somehow you were able to, do some gaslighting and get everyone to think what they saw didn't really happen, then the other thing was everybody saw you complain and hold up your little signs and stay there like petulant children when Donald Trump said, I want no tax on tips, I want no tax on overtime, and I want no tax on Social Security. You got hard-working people across the country who heard him say that, and for months now, people have been like, that would be awesome. That would be really cool. But you're looking over here and you're like, what kind of message do you think that sent to working people? You're always calling yourselves the party of the working man, the party of the middle class. You just told the middle class you gave them the middle finger. You gave the middle class the middle finger. How do you plan on coming out of that? There's no messaging. Because all you want to do is keep raising taxes. More and more and more taxes. The idea of there being no taxes on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security drives you crazy. So, what's your message? Eggs too much. Your message is that eggs cost too much. And now the messaging is out there as well, is that Biden killed 100 million chickens. And you can't combat that because that's true. And then in about 2 or 3 months, when the chickens that have been hatched lately end up catching up and pumping out eggs, then that narrative goes away. What's your message? What's your message to the American people? We don't have one. And meanwhile, you're doing crazy stuff like, what's his name? Al Green talking about he wants to impeach President Trump. Why would you waste your air? Why would you waste your breath talking about that? Tell him, Judge Janine.
Is a congressman from the same district where DJ, the 13-year-old cancer victim, is from. Grace would have been being a little more tolerant of that whole speech. And I think it's an insult that that little boy's congressman walked out of that speech. All right. But that's just for starters. Let me just say the performances, Dan.
Did you know that? I didn't until I heard her say that Al Green is DJ's congressman. That's his district. So imagine this, his father, his mother, and they're all like, you're our guy. How do I tell my coworkers, my friends, other people in my family that my congressperson, the person who represents my district, got up and waved his cane around and screamed and says he's going to impeach the guy who just did a wonderful gesture to my son? What an idiot.
Singing, banging drums, all of this nonsense is proof that the Democratic Party is dead right now. They don't have a leader. And if you think the American people are the leader of the Democrat Party, the American people have said, based upon the election of Republicans to the House.
Okay, so they're showing this video on Fox, which I don't know if you've seen it yet, but like 4 or 5 of the female women congresspeople from the Democrat Party came up with this cringy video of them jumping and say, "Who pick your fighter?" like it's Mortal Kombat or something. It is so stupid, So stupid. You can tell some of these people have never even like made moves before, and you're trying to convince Americans. I mean, everything you're doing looks incredibly scripted, looks incredibly stupid. You look so inauthentic. You know, the whole little video yesterday where every single one in the Senate was doing this, and then you follow it up with that?
In the Senate and the Oval, they're basically saying, we don't buy anything that you're saying, so we're not interested in what you're saying. So all this nonsense with these women jumping up and down. And by the way, folks, they are all congresswomen. They represent you in the people's house. All right. And their nonsense that they're engaging in is about the fact that they have no strategy. They have no policy. They're more interested in memes and the internet than they are in policy. This whole thing is about fighting. You want to fight? Go to the border and fight. You want to fight for the American people. You want to succeed as a Democrat? Then maybe what you need to do is recognize that the American people support Donald Trump when it comes to the illegals and when it comes to the issue of men and women's sports. And maybe you can find some common ground. And if you as Democrats find common ground with a guy that the American people support, 79% of whom love President Trump's speech.
All right, so what she's describing there is something I was talking about earlier, when the numbers are looking basically 80-20. And the 80-20 principle is not where you want to be as a politician. When your message is only reaching 20%, the nuts, the transformers, the draggies, and all the other stuff, and the blue hairs, and the piercers, and all that crap, that's all you're talking to. There's no possible way, none, you can win an election. And all you're doing is putting yourself further and further behind, because like Judge Jeanine has said, and many other people have said, you have no messaging. There is nothing you can offer us at this point. And I'm like, give me a pitch. What you got? And the only thing that's going to come out of their mouths are lies. Well, we're going to make sure you have your Medicaid and Medicare and your Social Security because they're looking to cut that. No, you're lying. Next. Tell me now. Well, you're going to make sure that your reproductive things are happening and you have the right to remove babies. Anything else? You got something for me that's going to help my pocket? How am I going to make more money? We're not about that. Okay. Ukraine? Nope, he's done. And by the way, you still have to answer all these questions about Doge. There's nothing there. I wouldn't feel so strongly about this if I saw anything that they could hang their hat on. Nothing. They can't call Trump a racist. He's just hugging up on his little black kid. You can't call him a Nazi. It's ridiculous. Every single thing that they have tried is done. So at this point, what you can ask if you're talking to people online, you're talking to liberals, you can just say, what do you have to offer us? Pitch me. Tell me why you think I should be voting as a Democrat. And then listen. Because they'll probably run, call you names, delete you, block you. I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to figure you out. I'm an intelligent being. Tell me what you have to offer. Nothing.
Well, then maybe you too can be successful. Maybe you too can convince Americans that you believe that you are here to represent American people. But nobody believes that crew is interested in us. They're interested in power. They're interested in ideology. And their failure to energize the American people is not going to be overcome by this nonsense of their, incompetency. And by the end, I think that we should overcome and they should overcome what this hate is that they are so much a part of.
I don't even think it's so much hate. I think it's insanity. I think that was it with her. Let me just make sure. Yeah. I don't think it's hate. They hate one man. They hate Trump. And they hate what we stand for. They hate that we as MAGA even breathe the same air as them. They can't stand it. They don't realize people want not just to be taken care of. We want to be protected by our government. Other than that, the only thing I want for you is to get the hell out the way. Just get out the way. As long as we're not breaking the law, stop. Stop with all the forced stuff that you want people to do. But it's too hard for them. It's way too hard for them. Oh well, get used to it. Because unless they figure out some strategy, which I don't see what it possibly could be moving forward. The problem with it is that the person they're competing against, you've emptied all of your weaponry. There's nothing else. You can't call him a womanizer. You can't say he didn't pay his taxes. None of it. It's all gone. So I'm open. Tell me what you think as a Democrat you have any chance to sell America. I'd love to hear it. Love to hear it.